Hi, this is going to be a new one for me. Don't normally, if you look at my channel, you'll see I don't do this sort of thing normally. I've been gigging a while with me acoustic group, and my weapon of choice for main gigging one is an ESP TL-6 slimline electro-acoustic. Due to neck injuries, I can't play a dreadnought, and so finding this was an absolute dream. But when I'm gigging, I want a backup guitar, one that's very similar, ideally, so that there's not much of a shock to the system when you have to swap guitars mid-gig if a string goes boing. Thankfully so far mine tend to go boing at practices, but I've been on the lookout and I stumbled across a Sire G5A, and amazingly they had some left-handed ones. Shock, I know. Andertons in the UK, which is where I'm from, actually had 4 in stock. They now have 3. I'll just flick this around so I can see what I'm looking at. So as it is, you'll be seeing it as I look at it. Forgive the camera work, I'm going to have to keep picking her up and putting it down because I haven't got a tripod or the space in my room to actually stick it up while I come do the whole thing. Bring this over here. Let's see. So, okay, first things first. The box, thankfully, appears totally undamaged. The outside of the box itself was undamaged. Now, one thing I would say, it was surprisingly heavier than I was expecting. The ESP itself is not a light guitar, certainly not compared to an acoustic. But get this off, so we'll see what we've got in. And hold on, here we go. We have quality assurance check from Andertons themselves. That's nice, I've never seen that before. So it's been looked at the shop, which is, I've never seen that, that's pretty cool. Okay, what we got? Basically, just the really long Allen key for adjusting the headstock, adjusting the truss rod. Okay. Right. Just bear with me, I'll just put this down and I'll just get that off the guitar and take another look. Okay, let's just put this down a second. Grab the camera so we can go and have a nosies. Here we are. This is called the Larry Colton G5. Here we go. You can see it's a very clean satin finish on the headstock. Just a glance at it, the neck looks really nice. In fact, the whole thing looks really nice, very satin. That threw me a bit, I'm so used to a curve, but logically that makes far more sense. That's where your battery compartment is and that. Bridge wise, I'll talk about this in a bit. A lot of people complain of this being an issue, but it just so happens that my TL-6 is exactly the same, and so there's just a little trick when you're restringing it, that tiny bend at the end of the string, and it makes life a hell of a lot easier. Finish wise, well, say, super satin sort of look. If we look at the neck joint there, that is well tidy. That is very tidy. Unusual to see a bolt on, but again, being an electro-acoustic with a chambered body, it sort of leans more to the electric than the acoustic. But I mean, just look at that. Let me come round the other side. Look at that neck pocket. That is nice and tidy. And I mean, if you're a left-hander like me and you're looking for something like this, get in there right now, because Andertons have got this. Retail is $5.59. They're currently selling it for $3.99. And to be honest, you'd be mad. Now the only thing I'm struggling with this, and this is just a perception thing, is the famous rolled edge of the fretboard. It just strikes me as odd because I've never seen it before. But in terms of being smooth, well, you couldn't get any smoother. You know, if you're finding anything hard there, there's something wrong with you. Action-wise, what have we got? Looks a bit high for my liking. But to be honest, most of my guitars go straight to a local luthier, and they get fettled. It doesn't matter what I've paid for it. I did the same with the ESP. Those two I didn't, because they were built for me and they've never needed touching. But even with that beauty, me EC1000, still went to the local luthier for a quick checkup. Everything else I've always had. Look at the... Yeah, I mean, you get a bus through there as far as I'm concerned. Let me just put this down. Oh, actually, I'll just grab my straight edge. Let's see what the neck's like. Well, that's not great, because that's a really pretty straight neck. So I'm guessing, I mean, looking at the nut, I'm guessing it's going to be the bridge that's the issue. Probably need something taken off the bridge. Let me just see how bad that is. Okay, here we go. Let's see. 12th fret. Doesn't help that I'm against the light. Hold on, let me have a quick look. Well, the low E string is pretty fine. Sorry, high E string. Oh God, yeah, I mean, talking 1.7 mil on the low E there, that's high. I mean, I personally would prefer it down around the 1.5. I mean, I know for acoustics that's not terrible, but I do think that could definitely be, I bet you could easily take that down to about there. I mean, if you look at the bridge, actually, if I zoom in a little bit on the bridge, there we go. That does look tilted. I mean, if you look at just of the slant of the bridge, I think you could probably do some judicious shaving of that bridge and improve it. Okay, back up. Here we go. Right, so here we are. My trusty TC Electronics mono tune. Unitune, I should say. In terms of the specs and the hardware and that, you can go to plenty of sites, including Andertons themselves, and check out the makeup of the guitar. I'm just more concerned about, as a player, and I mean, I'm not a professional, I'm just a hobbyist who happens to jam, but I'm more concerned with what it feels like. But I always tune based off something I found on YouTube. A chap who uses a capo a lot, which I do, and I always tune just slightly low from perfect pitch, because that way then when I put the capo on, it's slightly sharp to perfect pitch, but we're only talking 2 or 3 cents, so it never sounds like it's out of tune, and it doesn't go enough to go out of tune, but it makes throwing a capo on and moving it around so much easier. I mean, I probably swap these. I know I'm a heathen, I play really light strings, I tend to use 9s. I know it's a horrible thing to do, but all my others have 9s on, so this will get 9s on eventually. And at the most I'll go up to is a 10. I don't even know what these are. Now, Ernie balls by the look of it. They've been restrung with Ernie balls, but I've no idea what gauge they are. But that's very high. It says the next straight, but there is some relief there. Let me compare it to my ESP, which has been fettled. What are we looking at here? I mean, these are D'Addario XS9s. Again, because it's electric based, doesn't really make much difference. Yeah, I mean, I'm pushing between 1.25 and 1.5 at the 15th fret, and again 1.25. So E string is about the same on the new one, but the low E is, I'd say, something like 1/4 of a millimetre to 1/3 of a millimetre off minimum. Actually, now the capo's on, let's just give it a play. Well, to give you a reference, I'll do a similar thing using the ESP, which is basically the same sort of beast. So again, factor in the different strings. Obviously brighter because the fully steel rather than phosphor bronze, but similar volume levels. Right, I'm going to pause this now, dig out my monitor and try it powered up, see what it sounds like. Okay, back again, it's plugged in. First observation, volume wise, the preamp isn't up to the sort of standard as the one on the TL-6, nowhere near as loud. So you're definitely going to have to want to crank the input up on this. Surprisingly, it did have a battery in when I checked it. Everything's at mid-click on the EQ. Same on the monitor, it's all at flat. So let's bump the treble up. with the sound. Very much got the sound of to me of a big acoustic. A very different sound to the ESP. If I just plug the ESP in, right. And that's more or less mid. I mean, I'll add a bit of bass and a bit of treble. A much brighter sound on the ESP. Middle right out and bass halfway down. See how that sounds? Easy to play though. Even easier with the lighter strings and that bridge tweaked. It is actually quieter than my ESP, but my ESP has got a semi-sound hole, whereas this is completely solid on the top, so there's no where for the sound to escape from. ESP, you can see it's got that cool chevron thing, which does allow some sound from the chambered body to escape. Am I happy with my money that I've spent? Well, one, I've saved 150, 160 quid, so duh. Two, build-wise, really nice. Like I say, you can spend £4,000 on a guitar and still need it tweaking. And for 400 quid, frankly, I mean, just the more you look at it and the more you look at the quality of the build, it's frankly gorgeous. Open machine heads is a new thing for me. I haven't had one of them since my first deco when I was 17. Don't tell you how far ago that was. Yeah, I'm a fan. Nice sound though, lovely sound. Like I say, much deeper and thicker than I'd expect for something looking like this, you know. Now I know you've not been able to see the whole guitar all the time, but like I say, in terms of just looking at it, there's a good few videos out there on it. But the key thing for me is it sits in the same sort of place, feels the sort of same. My arm's not out. Very much like playing an electric. But is it giggable as it stands? Yes, very much so. Slightly disappointed in the preamp. Not as much power as I would like, but that can be tweaked at the mixer because it always goes through the PA anyway. It's not an issue. It's not like you'd ever play this for the unplugged volume. You just bump your gain up a bit further than you would normally. How it feels when it sits on you though is well, it's like an electric guitar. If you've played a Cort or an ESP or Les Paul, that's how it feels. Neck is a joy, frankly. Yeah, it's so comfy. It really is so comfy. Similar to my ESP in its profile. It's a nice slim neck. Just, you know, it's nowhere near as bulky as an acoustic neck. And those rolled edges, although, like I say, visually it took me a beat to get in with them. When you're playing, oh god, they're so comfy. So yeah, I think I get this down a smidge, put my favourite strings on, and like I say, when you're playing regularly, you want something you can rely on. This is, to be honest, I think this will probably alternate between my backup and my main guitar. Certainly the next practice we're running through a rehearsal for a gig, and this will get used as the main guitar. So yeah, highly recommended. And I say, in the UK at the moment, and you're left-handed and you're looking for something like this, you'd be mad not to go to Andertons and nab yourself one. Sorry for the length of the video, and the fact that you never see my face, though that could be a good thing. And hope someone finds this useful, another fellow lefty out there. I'll be posting it on the lefty group in Facebook, and hope someone benefits from it. Bye bye. Okay, quick addendum, take two. Talking about a case for it. Now, I have an Armadillo case. It's one of the hard foam cases. Alas, these companies are not in business anymore, and I don't know why, because they're brilliant cases. But find an equivalent one, and this is their base case. And this, with a little bit of gentle persuasion, fits. It's a tiny bit too wide, but it will push the foam out once you've viewed it a couple of times. Whereas the ESP absolutely will not fit into there, it comes out to here. So there's no way the ESP fits, but this is a snug fit, which technically you want when you're gigging. That's not going to go anywhere in a hurry. But there's room under there. It's not pressing against there. It's sitting nicely in there. And so a piece of foam in there, and this isn't going anywhere. The other option is to go to something like that, which is my Hiscox case for my ESP. It's the 335 case, and they've kitted it out inside to cater for my ESP rather nicely. It is not cheap, but I would go on and say it's probably one of the best cases you can buy, and it's worth every penny if you can afford one and you have the space. So one of these, this fit in here, and is an absolute bonus for me. So anyway, yeah, just a final addendum.